Vice Principal Hauger has been collecting comic books since his high school days in Roseville. Lee Mamangon, a current high schooler, had a conversation with him asking him how he got started.
I had a friend of mine who was drawing in his English class, and I had no idea what it was that the guy was drawing. And he said, actually, it's a comic book character that I'm reading the book right now, which interests me because I would read but didn't like reading. And so the next day he actually brought me the book that he was reading, and that was when it started. I took it home and completely absorbed the book.
Because comic books taught Mr. Hauger to love reading, he recently went searching for another copy of that magical first issue, which he found locally at the A1 Comics on Auburn.
That's actually that one. The trade paperback, a 4-issue miniseries about Wolverine. And from this, I then went out and found a local comic book store. Back then, it was Comics and Comics, which is no longer around in Sacramento, and found out that he was part of a group called the X-Men, and started reading the X-Men books, and that's where it took off.
While Wolverine and the X-Men still keep a special place in his heart, Mr. Hauger's favorite superhero is the Caped Crusader.
It's a double cross, all signs pointing to Two-Face.
I love Batman. I love the idea that you don't need powers. Money helps, obviously, but you can go through and through physical training, mental training. One of the things I like a lot about Batman is that it's not just the physical, that a lot of people forget that he's actually a detective and does a lot of mental work.
Mr. Hauger didn't expect that his love of comic books would help him with his job, but he discovered that a lot of students like myself also share an interest in Marvel and DC characters.
I always when I got into this position, I always wanted to make sure that kids felt they had something to talk about when they came into my office. And it has been really good because I'll have kids that come in that'll be really upset over something that's happened to them, something that's going on in their lives, and it gives us a point to where they can just focus on the things that are in the room. It's a great icebreaker on, who do you like? Do you watch the movies? Are you watching things on television? And before we even get to whatever they've actually come to see me about, we can actually sit down and have a conversation, which then opens the door.
I asked Mr. Hauger to share some of his favorites from his collection.
I found this one. A friend of mine sold me this a long time ago, and it is super old, a 12-cent comic. But it is one of the old introduction to a character in a group called the Legion of Superheroes that they don't do a lot of in the media unless you watch the Supergirl TV show. The old Smallville television show had the Legion in it. But this is one of my favorite characters from the Legion and his first appearance. So I brought that in, and the other one that I brought in is this is my all-time favorite cover of any comic that they've copied multiple times. And this is, once again, the Adventure Comics starring the Legion of Superheroes. And Superboy goes to the future and helps found a superhero group to where that is a collection of their characters. And this ran through all the 60s and still goes on today, the Legion of Superheroes. But this cover they've copied multiple times, just changing out the characters that are in it. But this is the original cover, and I love this cover so much that I have multiple copies of this one book.
If you want to read comic books right now, where can you go? Well, it turns out that it's easier and closer than you think.
Our school library is packed with comic books. There's packed with anime, there's manga, there's a huge collection of the Captain Marvel series they're holding on to. They have Walking Dead comic books. The library has a huge section. Laura in the library will gladly show them to you. And she and I, when I first got here, we talked, and she actually went to A1 and was able to get a great deal on a lot of comics because we know that's what some kids, that's what they want to read. It's really a whole lot easier to absorb a story if you're actually seeing the pictures along with it. And so that could be the stepping point of moving into then actual reading non-picture books.
Research bears this out. Students who don't necessarily enjoy reading may just find their luck in comic books. And as it happened with Mr. Hauger, this may lead them to read other things later on in life. I love Dick Grayson too.
Isn't he great?
He's so cool.
Yeah, now he's Nightwing, so
Yes.
yeah.
You draw him so well.
Well, and Yeah, they're being beefcakey right now in the drawing of them. Yeah, there you go.